The most important pet's dogs, the wolf was the first to become the most faithful friend. For centuries, the vicious predator transformed into the very pet dog that guards us, helps to hunt, fight, track down criminals, accompany the blind, and much, much more. Scientists say that the first wolves got used to people so long ago that 26,000 years ago, they were quietly entrusted to protect small children left in a cave while their parents are looking for food. In France, there is a cave with traces of a child and a dog, or else a wolf, dating back to this very century. Gradually, the nature of the wild animal under the influence of man has changed. There were more and more new breeds, we can say highly specialized. The former wolves were differentiated and in size and shape of the body, in colors and many other traits. Dogs are perfectly amenable to training. They have a sense of smell many times better than humans, so they are much more successful guards of the herd, guarding property. In the north, transport people and goods, serve at borders and customs, as well as porters, bombers, scouts in war, rescue workers in the mountains and on the waters. Dogs are devoted to people with all their hearts, ready to die themselves in order to save the owner. This applies to any, even absolutely decorative breeds. Cats, this pet has been in a privileged position with humans for at least 10,000 years. There are probably fewer cats in the wild than in captivity, where they feel like real masters. As soon as ancient humans stopped roaming and began to live sedentary lives, cultivating fields, the need for guarding supplies appeared. Rodents immediately settled in all barns and pantries. The Middle East became a place where the cat, living on its own, began to walk alongside humans. Now there are millions of them. Even in the breeds, it is difficult for a non-specialist to understand, since there are about 70 pure and more than 200 man-made. It is a companion animal, a friend, just like a dog. The domestic cat has not lost its instincts. It always effectively catches everything that moves: mice, rats, shrews, butterflies, birds, and similar little things. Nowadays, this is rarely required of her, but the skill and desire do not go away. And people appreciate this pet for its charm, beauty, grace. The wild instincts of cats have been preserved better than those of dogs, although they are now also capable of selfless affection for humans, of gratitude and deepest love. Horses. Humans domesticated the wild horse about 9,000 years ago, almost simultaneously in different parts of Eurasia. Since then, more than 400 different breeds have been bred, depending on their purpose. They vary in weight, height, color, and shape. For example, Argentine falabellas are babies less than 80 centimeters tall, while riding horses are tall and weigh up to 600 kilograms. There are also heavyweights up to 1.5 tons. Horses have different jobs. Before saddling it, people used meat, leather, and mare's milk. Much more useful, however, were pets given certain occupations. Some were excellent at long galloping horseback riders. Others, a little less fast, could carry both rider and load riding with a harness. The third breed was harnessed to a cart and carriage, trusting them light harness. The fourth carried heavy wagons and carts for long distances. Some breeds could be both riding and pack horses. They are very hardy, strong, mobile animals with an excellent locomotor system, respiratory, and cardiovascular. They are also very intelligent, with well-developed instincts and good memory. The nature of horses is kind and obedient. If the education was carried out correctly, they trust the owner and become his loyal friend. Horses are composed of songs. They are constantly mentioned in fairy tales and epics. There are many real cases when horses saved their riders from imminent death, remembering the way home even in the midst of an impassable snowstorm. Cows about 8,000 years ago, and in some territories even earlier, a huge wild buffalo, auroch, bison, yak, bison, depending on the locality, came to the aid of the sedentary farmer, domestically called an ox. This extremely strong animal was indispensable in agriculture until it was replaced by the tractor. In many countries, horses were used much less frequently than buffalo for plowing. In addition to their draft power, they gave man a fine hide and plenty of tasty meat. To this day in Asia, oxen can be found everywhere without changing their purpose. And the female buffalo is a cow, which in every peasant's home was called the nurse and dove. Cow's milk cannot be replaced by anything else. And the character of this animal is affectionate. She is balanced, calm. To date, many breeds have been bred in 3 areas: dairy, meat, and combined. Before the scientific and technological revolution, there was a 4th direction: working cows. Now it is no longer necessary to keep such cows and bulls, and therefore today there is no representative of this breed in pure form. In India, cows are considered sacred. The dwarf cow has spread there, and there are already more than 30 species of them. Rabbits: the rabbit is not a hare at all. They are very distant relatives. The biological differences are so great that it is impossible to obtain joint offspring. Another thing is the rabbit, domestic and wild, they have no problems with it. This animal was domesticated so long ago that it is impossible to trace the very beginning, and therefore it is written that it happened several thousand years ago. However, there is information that the beginning was in Europe, and more specifically in those territories where Spain is located now. Today there are dozens of varieties of this cute creature. Bred are especially fecund, climatically adapted species, as well as with a special focus, fleshy giants, downy as the clouds, as well as breeds with improved characteristics for the mule craft. It should be noted that very quickly rabbits spread all over the world. Travelers and warriors willingly took them with them, starting with Roman legionnaires, and released them into the wild to breed. In Australia, however, this experience ended sadly. There were no natural enemies in nature, so rabbits literally occupied the continent, destroying everything: crops, forests, fields, even trees. This became a real disaster, and already in the 50s of the 20th century to the poor animal applied a biological weapon in the form of a virus. All Australian rabbits were exterminated. But this was not the end of the troubles. A hapless French farmer released a sick rabbit into the wild. There was a colossal loss of both domestic and wild animals. Gradually, however, the breeding situation has improved. First of all, the rabbit is not too expensive and very useful meat. In many countries, the emphasis is on quality dressing of fur, and almost everywhere fluffy animals are used in laboratories. After rats, it is the most common animal for experiments. Along with this, the fashion movement is gaining momentum. Rabbits are kept as pets instead of or together with a cat. Geese were domesticated around the same time in Europe and China, and the practice has spread worldwide. It is a very large, only the turkey is larger in size, and exceptionally tasty bird. It must be said that the goose is not a rare bird in the farm, but its population is many times lower than that of other poultry. At the same time, it has a privileged status and has been domesticated not at once, only 3,000 years ago, when the bird community had already formed in poultry houses and was clucking, quacking, and cooing to its utmost. Yes, and pigeons had been domesticated before that. Ducks, chickens, and other domestic animals were first domesticated mainly in the south, but geese were domesticated in the north. These are the coasts of the North Sea and the Baltic. Around the same time or a little later, the Romans, the ancient Greeks, and the Chinese began to domesticate the goose. To this day, it is in these regions that this bird is popular. In other continents, and even in other parts of Europe and Asia, goose breeding has not taken root to the same extent. The population is still very small there.